Welcome to another edition of ATL Prime Sports. I'm Jurjevich. Joining me is the one, the only Wayne Ridenhour up there in beautiful Memphis, Tennessee. No Todd Corder tonight, out doing a play-by-play gig. You can find us all at ATL Prime Sports on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, give us a review, give us a subscribe on YouTube, give us a like on Facebook, heck, give us a retweet on the Twitter. Again, at ATL Prime Sports for all of us, at JJ Get You One for myself, at RWY Jr. for our fabulous producer Wayne, and at Corder Todd for TC Todd Corder. How you doing tonight, Wayne?
Well, Memphis got knocked out there in the second round of the tournament. I wish it would have gone farther. But in typical fashion, they started off the second half of that game and just started giving up points, and, it cost them. Now the next task is what kind of deals are they going to be able to make in the transfer portal? Because part of me feels like there's going to be some players jumping to the NBA from Memphis, as well as some going into that portal. And I don't know if Amani Bates was just visiting family, but it's my understanding he made some trips up to Michigan. So we'll see if that's something or nothing.
I hope it's nothing, because I like Amani Bates. He's a good player. He was injured most of the year, and he is absolutely stellar to watch. Wayne, I'm doing pretty good. I'm not doing as good, though, as St. Peter's Peacocks junior guard Doug Eddert. Well, he signed maybe the best name, image, likeness deal of them all, Wayne. A deal with Buffalo Wild Wings. And, I mean, free wings, man.
Yeah. Well, the only thing that would have made more sense is if he would have signed with the cake boss, Buddy Valestros. He's right up there in the same neck of the woods that school is, right up there in Jersey City or around there.
Yeah, absolutely great story. We'll talk about the Peacocks a little bit more in the show. What's on tap for today? Matt Ryan out, Marcus Mariota in, one of our quick hits, NFL quick hit topics. The new look Braves, can they repeat? And, of course, the Sweet 16 tips off on Thursday. We'll break down a lot of the matchups, talk about our favorite moments, and so on and so forth. Wayne, without further ado, let's kick ATL Prime Sports off. Again, folks, if you like the show, please like, subscribe, give us a review on the Apple or the Spotify. We'd really, really appreciate it. Our first topic, our NFL quick hits. Let's have a little fun with it. The latest blockbuster trade, the quarterback carousel, the Falcons' new quarterback, some NFL draft talk. We got a lot to talk about it. Let's get into it. First, the trade alert, man. Big trade went down Wednesday afternoon in the NFL. Wide receiver Tyreek Hill, arguably, in my opinion, the best wide receiver in the game, Wayne, was traded to the Dolphins for 5 picks. 5 picks, man. Unbelievable. So the Chiefs get a 2022 first rounder, second rounder, and fourth rounder. That'd be the 29th overall, folks, the 50th overall. And I'm not sure what the fourth round number is yet, but that's this year's draft, plus a fourth and a sixth in next year's 2023 draft. So the Kansas City Chiefs can super rebuild for a discounted price around Patrick Mahomes. This is good for both franchises. Tua Tagovailoa gets a re-energized wide receiver. Maybe this reinvigorates his career. They give him an extra weapon out there. Give him the offensive tackle that they just signed, protecting his blind side. So I think the Dolphins are really making some serious moves in the AFC. Wayne, what you think about that trade today, Wednesday?
Well, that kind of reminds me a lot of something that might have come out of the Jerry Jones playbook. I don't know if the guys down up in Kansas City played it that way, but it sure feels like it. It sure feels like what they did back in the early '90s, late '80s with what was that guy from Georgia? That Dallas ended up trading away to get all those picks.
Herschel Walker.
It feels a lot like that.
Yeah, no, it could be a franchise-changing move for both franchises. Whether it's good or bad, it will definitely make some impact. We'll go into our second topic real quick. Which quarterback has the best chance of winning right away with their new team? And I say that because we all know Matt Ryan's now with the Colts. You have Deshaun Watson with the Browns, Russell Wilson with the Broncos. The quarterback carousel will continue to move around, but we're going to stick with those three right now. Which quarterback has the best chance of winning right out the gate? Wayne, I'll start with you, man.
I'm going to go with Russell Wilson on this. I think he's coming out of a situation up there in Seattle that was kind of frustrating. Now that he's in Denver, which kind of was a lot of people's playoff favorite last year, yeah, I kind of think they have put together the best package around that quarterback.
Yeah, Russell Wilson can win quick. You know, he can move around. He never had a great offensive line in Seattle. Had a lot of deep threats in DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. Had a pretty good run game with Chris Carson there for a while. Now, obviously, with the Super Bowl, you had Percy Harvin, Marshawn Lynch, a great offensive line, and the Legion
Yeah,
of Boom on
just
defense.
bad play callings all they had in that Super Bowl.
Yeah, and Malcolm Butler re-signed with the Pats recently. So it's been a fast and furious free agency period, trading session, whichever name you want to call it here, folks. It's been fast and furious. You better call Vin Diesel and make a movie about NFL free agency and call it Fast and Furious because that's what it's been doing. But honestly, I think they're all poised to win right away. I think this is one of the toughest questions to ask in this offseason because we've seen the Broncos defense keep them competitive in games with Drew Lock, the 6'7" Brock Osweiler. You've seen them interchange quarterback after quarterback. They get their guy now. They get an MVP type player and a guy who's been to 2 Super Bowls, and he says he can still play 10 seasons. So this is really tough to me. Matt Ryan goes to Indianapolis. He has a great offensive line, and he's got some good wide receivers and a pretty good defense. So we all know here in Atlanta what Matt Ryan can do with an offensive line and a good defense. Well, he took us to the Super Bowl as an Atlanta Falcons fan, thus the reason I'm wearing the NFC Championship shirt. I'm praising Matt Ryan here, but the answer to the question, to me, Wayne, is Deshaun Watson. And I'll tell you, Deshaun Watson, yeah, the easy answer might be Matt Ryan, but here's why I'm going to come in and say Deshaun Watson. And we'll go back to Matt Ryan in a second. But again, Watson last played in 2020 throwing 33 touchdowns to 7 interceptions, almost 5,000 yards, 48-23 to be exact, and he had no offensive line. He had 0 run game. Give this guy the top 10 PFF, Pro Football Focus, offensive line as they were last year, the Cleveland Browns, in a run game with Nick Chubb, who can alleviate a lot of the pressure of throwing deep. Then you top off. They just got Amari Cooper. They have Donovan Peoples-Jones. And now a Odell Beckham Jr. reunion is not off the table. I like Deshaun Watson. I think he is going to win quicker than the other 3. I think Matt Ryan's a good answer because we all know Matt Ryan had 10 consecutive 4,000-yard seasons. He has never thrown for under 20 touchdowns in his entire career. And the 4,000-yard streak did come to a close this year. It was just under that 4,000-yard mark. But again, I think they'll all win right off the bat. Now, who's going to win longer? And that's what I went with Deshaun Watson. The offensive line, the wide receiver core, and Nick Chubb. The Georgia boy can run the rock, alleviate a lot of pressure. We all know about Myles Garrett and the Browns defense. It's absolutely amazing when they get after the quarterback. It's very tough to run on that Browns defense. I like Deshaun Watson going up to Cleveland. Wayne, what are your final thoughts on this? Which quarterback do you think will do the best right off the gate?
Well, you
already said Russell Wilson,
yeah,
but
I still think it's Russell Wilson.
Kind of elaborate on that. I know we talked about Russell Wilson. You mentioned this and that, but give me one more reason on Russell Wilson. I want you to bring it home, Wayne.
Well, sometimes it's not who you are, but who you play. And Matt Ryan and Deshaun Watson are going to have to play against some really good teams in the division that they're in. And I think that Russell Wilson's going to have an easier go at it. Now, I know the whole schedule hadn't come out with, so I don't know what non-conference or what opening games they have to play. But Russell Wilson's chance of winning more games is, I think, greater because of the division that they're in.
Well, and he's a great player. So I see where you're going. I wanted you to say something about the division. That's why I piggybacked on it. So I think he'll have the toughest go because of the division. You're in the division with Mahomes, Herbert, Wilson, and who's the fourth quarterback in the AFC West there? Oh, yeah. It's the guy who we all know, Derek Carr. So all four really, really valuable quarterbacks. Derek Carr was an MVP candidate, 3 or 4 years ago, but I think he had a back injury going into the playoffs. Didn't get the MVP award. Many thought he still should have. So you got four quarterbacks in that division. Russell Wilson's going in. He's a bad man. I really like your pick there. I think Russell Wilson can win. He is a dynamic player, and we all know what John Elway does when he gets a second chance quarterback. He won one with Peyton Manning and went to 2 Super Bowls. What will he do with Russell Wilson? I'm glad you said that. That's why I went back to it.
Folks, one more thing before you give it like and subscribe line is, quarterbacks don't play quarterbacks on the field. And so we'll have to see how he does against those other teams' defense.
Very good point. Very good point. All right. We got to talk about our dirty birds. Whew, a new era, Wayne, a new era. Now that the Falcons have moved on from Matt Ryan, what do the Falcons do with that 8th overall pick? I'll tee this one off. Look, if you haven't heard by now, the Falcons traded Matt Ryan, their franchise quarterback, to the Colts for a 3rd-round pick. And they're in salary cap hell for one season. But next year, they'll clear $100+ million with the cap increase and Matt Ryan off the books. Yeah. So it could be a good move there. Look through the force, Falcons fans. I'll tell you this. In the aftermath, the Falcons signed quarterback Marcus Mariota, who's played under Arthur Smith before, to a 2-year deal. So you could catch lightning in a bottle here. And I think you see where I'm going with this. I am not drafting a quarterback if I'm the Falcons this year. Not at 8. I don't think there's a franchise quarterback in this draft, in my opinion. I think Kenny Pickett's the best thing you got. You have Malik Willis. You have a couple other guys that will probably come up out of nowhere and have great careers. No doubt about it. But I think you could go this year with building from the inside out, or you could take the best player available at 8. And folks, I think that's going to be wide receiver Garrett Wilson. That's why I think the Falcons will go with the wide receiver at 8. The suspension of Ridley. Obviously, Julio was gone last year. Russell Gage is now with Tom Brady. Olamide Zaccheaus looking like he may not re-sign. So you don't have a starting caliber wide receiver on your roster. That's why I think you're going to have to go wide receiver at 8 because you don't have one, Wayne. I don't think it's a bad move to build inside out either. So Terry Fontenot as a GM is really going to have to hone down on what he wants. Does he want the Garrett Wilson with the 4.38 40-yard dash, who in 2 seasons eclipsed over 110 catches and 18 touchdowns with Ohio State? But again, I need to mention this. I would not be opposed if Terry Fontenot built this team from the inside out, because we need an offensive line to protect that future quarterback. Go ahead and get that guy that you may want in the first round to protect your guy next year. Because, folks, next year, you have JT Daniels, CJ Stroud, Bryce Young. Those are just 3 of the names. You'll have 4 or 5 guys come up and emerge. And those are all guys that really can impact an NFL roster, in my opinion, if they were to come out right now. I think Bryce Young's one of the best quarterbacks. If he were to be graded in this year's draft, I really think he'd be the highest graded quarterback in this year's draft. So, again, I don't think you necessarily have to draft quarterback this year. I think you could either do two things. I think they'll go wide receiver because they don't have that starting caliber player, Wayne. But if they go inside out, I'm not going to be upset. There's so many holes to fill with this Atlanta Falcons franchise. It's literally an open draft. I don't think, as a Falcons fan in my lifetime, I've ever had no clue what they're doing with the first pick of the NFL draft. I have no clue. They could go wide receiver, they could go defensive end, they could go offensive line. We don't know. Wayne, what do you think they do at 8 overall in next month's NFL draft?
Well, you can't ever predict what they're going to do, but here's what I think they should do if they're wanting to avoid all this salary cap issue, is look for some quality players to fill those holes in conferences like the Sun Belt or the American Athletic Conference. And, you might be able to get a quality player that's being highly overlooked, who has really good, work ethic and everything else, and is willing to try and, do whatever the coach says.
I like it. A guy with a chip on his shoulder. I am never opposed to drafting those guys later in the round. I think, man, it's really tough for the Falcon fan to sit there and go, what can I look forward to in this year's draft? Well, I think what you look forward to is building around Marcus Mariota, a player that can run around, get him a weapon on the outside, and we'll see. And I will have to admit this, Marcus Mariota is, by my calculations, the only NFL player to throw a touchdown pass to himself in the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's all I got. That's all I got.
Yeah.
We're having fun with this, folks. If you like this podcast, if you like what you're listening to, follow us on ATL Prime Sports, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, and also on Spotify and Apple. Let's go ahead and move on. Are any final thoughts on the NFL quick hits, Wayne?
Now I'm ready to move on to some baseball.
Yeah, let's do it. The defending World Series champs have some new faces. Let's talk some chop. Several new faces this season. How will they help the Braves' chances to repeat? A lot. They're going to help them a lot because you got first baseman Matt Olson, right-handed pitcher Kenley Jansen, who came over from the Dodgers, right-handed pitcher Colin McHugh, who came over from Tampa Bay, who's also another local kid. Matt Olson from Parkview, Colin McHugh from Providence Christian right here in Lilburn, Georgia as well, where I'm broadcasting this podcast. So, and also don't forget about outfielder Alex Dickerson. These are all new faces. There's a couple others that will trickle in probably throughout the whole year. But this team can definitely repeat as World Series champs. Absolutely. I think the Braves are better on paper with Olson than they are with Freeman. Wayne, how about that? Take the Freeman emotion away, folks. Take it away. Look at it through the forest. Take every tree, blank it out, and say, what did we get with Matt Olson? Here's what you got with Matt Olson. 2021 stats, folks. Wins above replacement. 5.8 for Olson. 4.7 for Freddie Freeman. RBIs, 111 for Matt Olson. 83 for Freddie Freeman. Home runs, 39 for Olson. 31 for Freddie Freeman. So you see where I'm going here, folks. Olson had 35 less at-bats than Freddie Freeman, and he had very similar production. Definitely hit less for contact than Freeman will. You are going to miss that, but the power will be there, and he's a pull hitter, folks. So when Matt Olson's up and there's a righty on the mound, you chop house folks need to be ready because this guy might hit 50 in Truist Park, Wayne. And I think this guy, again, you take the emotion out of the trade, out of the signing. Matt Olson makes this team better on paper than Freddie Freeman. And I like their chances to repeat. What about you? Give me some what are your chances what do you think the chances the Braves repeat, Wayne? And who's your favorite new face that the Braves got?
I honestly hadn't been keeping up with the Braves all that much. I know the big, thing that we talked about with their losing the player. I've been more focused on what Texas is going to be doing, which is in a whole nother, league than Atlanta.
That's what I
And
should have asked.
well, the Rangers are actually not opening on opening day. Their first game is the 8th. And I think they have to travel up to Toronto, which will be a big test for them. And we'll see what they've got going. I don't usually watch too much of the Cactus League stuff because at that point, I just think they're looking at rosters. So I'm looking forward to the day
Just
after opening day.
trying to fill out your 40-man roster, make sure you got the right guys, the non-roster invites that you bring in, things like that. But I think this team has a wonderful shot to repeat. I think they are better on paper this year than they were last year. They may win more games. TC and I talked about this off air. They may very well win more games than 88 and may not get the same results as last year. But I think they will get more wins, and I think they will repeat for the 5th consecutive time as NL East champions. Look, and I'll top it off with this. The cherry on top is this bullpen. And I think that's what really makes their chances of repeating a lot greater. You have Kenley Jansen, who has got plenty of closing experience, and he is supposed to be the closer. Will Smith will be the setup guy. And I'm sure you can interchange those guys. When Jansen goes 2 nights in a row, you'll see Smith. And then vice versa. If Smith goes 2 nights in a row, maybe you'll see Jansen. I think you'll see a rotating closer throughout the year. I think Jansen will be the guy, but I think Smith will be that third guy if you need him. You don't want to throw a closer 3 days in a row. Smith will be that guy. And then you throw the cherries on top with the night watch. You got A.J. Minter, Luke Jackson, Tyler Matzik. It's just unbelievable. Then you add this guy, McHugh. Unbelievable bullpen. The Braves starters, Morton, Fried, Anderson. And if you go Kyle Wright or Tucker, it really doesn't matter. If they go 6 quality innings, 7, 8, and 9 is going to be taken up by this amazing bullpen. Wayne, I love the chances to repeat. I've never been more excited as a Braves fan than I have for this season coming up, because Ronald Acuna Jr. will be back in a Braves uniform, and he is the most exciting thing to watch in Atlanta sports. I can't wait to see 13 back in action in Truist Park. Hopefully opening day. They don't think he'll be able to play opening day, but he might be able to DH opening day, and that's all I can hope for. I love the Braves' chance to repeat. Wayne, any final thoughts on the Braves' chances at repeating as world champions?
They've got a better chance of repeating as the AL champs than they do to win a World Series. But off topic, kinda, is how is this going to affect pearl sales there in the Atlanta area?
Well, pearl sales will be down in Atlanta because Jock Peterson's now back on the West Coast. So
Yeah.
pearl season is over in Atlanta. But boy, was it great! What a great run throughout the playoffs.
Yeah.
What a great run for the Braves. And
Maybe
I know Braves fans are excited to get back to the ballpark.
maybe the people on the West Coast can start looking on the used market for their pearl necklaces for people in Atlanta putting them up online for sale.
All right, folks. That's our final thoughts on the World Series champion Atlanta Braves and their chances at repeating. I think it's pretty high that they repeat. I'm going to go out and say they go ahead and do it. I just think this team is, from top to bottom, one of the best in baseball. Dodgers are plus 30 on the other side of the age. We'll see what happens. Final topic of the evening. It's that Sweet 16. Tips off Thursday. What an exciting first weekend of NCAA March Madness and the men's tourney. Let's talk about the remainder of this tournament. Quick some NCAA fun notes. Big Ten lost 7 of its 9 teams. Only Purdue and Michigan remain. You got SEC, who had 6 teams. I had one of them in the Final Four.
I had 2 of them in the Final Four.
Ooh, you did, didn't you? You had Tennessee in there, right?
Yeah.
Tennessee was. I thought they were going to do a lot better than they did.
I thought Auburn was going to do a lot better too, but
I wish I could say that, but I actually picked Miami to go to the Sweet 16. That was one of my few upsets I picked. Let's go over some favorite moments so far. Look, whenever I see Sister Jean on camera, it's my favorite moment of the tournament. So that's number 1 for me. And then I'll throw in a fun one. But they went down to Ohio State this year, so the Ramblers are out. But again, always seeing Sister Jean in her smiling face at 100+ years old is just classic television. But it's got to be the number 15 seeded St. Peter's Peacocks. Boy, what a great story this is. Only the 3rd team seeded 15th to get to this round, to Sweet 16. You had Oral Roberts do it last year, and then Florida Gulf Coast. They had a name, Dunk City or Slam City. I can't remember the nickname for the team, but boy, they're the 15th seed to ever make this far. And they're led by a feisty coach who was a former McDonald's All-American. And again, we mentioned him, Doug Edert, 20 points out of nowhere versus Kentucky, gets the Buffalo Wild Wings deal. This is definitely the best story of the tournament. I hope they get to the Elite 8 and make it the first 15 seed to ever get that far. Wayne, what say you? What are your favorite moments of the tournament thus far?
Well, I could be slightly vindictive being a Memphis fan and saying the post-game press conference that John Calipari had to go through. But I actually had a little bit more personal thing in the game. And my son got to travel up to Portland as the part of the Memphis pep band. And I got to see him on TV a few times in passing, when they had the camera going. So for me personally, that was my favorite moment.
That is absolutely awesome. I know your son had a blast out there. That's what the tournament's all about, getting these kids, these students, these student athletes exposure in different cities that they might not have ever been. That's one of the few parts of the tournament that's rarely talked about, but we covered it right here on ATL Prime Sports. Let's go talk about who our favorites to make the Final Four are. I'll stick with my Duke, Arizona, and Kansas from my original bracket. And my 4th team in the Final Four is going to be a surprise. I nearly picked this in our bracket. I had it. I literally did. I'm not going to lie to you. I had it, and I deleted it. I had North Carolina Duke meeting in the Final Four for one more Coach K UNC Duke game. So I think that's going to be the Final Four matchup. I think you'll see Duke UNC. I think you'll see Arizona and Kansas. I'm sticking with Duke moves on. Arizona moves on. Still sticking with Duke as my national champion. But look, here's what it comes down to. I want to see one more UNC Duke game. I want to see Coach K go out on top with that one. My big upset in the Sweet 16, I'll go ahead and give one. I'm saying the Zags go down to the Arkansas Razorbacks this weekend. Woo Pig gets them. Their transition defense looked bad against Georgia State, looked even worse in the second round matchup against Memphis. I really think that the Gonzaga Bulldogs go down to the Razorbacks this weekend. Wayne, give me some favorites on your Final Four. I'm going to go plug in my computer because it's dying.
Oh, all right. Well, I would have to say that my favorite, if I'm going to pick a Final Four at this point, because my bracket got all blown up, I would have to pick Arkansas, Purdue, Houston, and Kansas. And my wife's not going to like that because she does not like Houston and she does not like Kansas. But I'll go ahead and say that I think Purdue has the best chance of winning the whole thing because I don't think they were ever out of the top 5 the entire year.
No, you're right about that. They were right there at the top of basketball, the pinnacle the whole season. They're well coached, and they have several players that can shoot the three ball. They have several players that can grab boards and affect shots down low inside, meaning blocking them. Folks, I'll tell you why I like UNC. I think RJ Davis can score the basketball with some of the best. I mean, a 30 point game against the Baylor Bears the other day. I'm looking at my notes here. Three others average over double digits in that UNC roster. And look, Coach Davis has this team playing the best ball of the year. Right there at the end of the year, they beat Coach K, and that's what you want as a player, as a coach, as a fan. You want to see your team playing the best ball, and I think UNC is playing the best ball in the country right now. So I got them in the Final Four. My notes on Duke. Look, they move the ball around almost better than anybody in the country. They're 15th in the country with over 16 assists per game in that category. Bencaro can really score the ball down low. He's a beast. Shoots nearly 50% field goal percentage. When you have a guy that can put a team on his back like that, go down, get buckets, make an assist, make a defensive play. It's just very easy for a coach to put the ball in someone's hands, make a play, and let it happen. And Coach K is the best coach in basketball right now. Never going to take that away until he retires, which is obviously at the end of the year. So that's my notes on Duke. I like Kansas. Look, Bill Self's team is feisty. They're led by senior guard Agbaji. If I pronounced that incorrectly, I'm sorry. That is tough. But he's a top 35 scorer in the country. And Bill Self's got himself a national championship, so he knows how to coach down the stretch. And I think that's key. Coaching down the stretch is huge. Arizona's guard play, we all know it's probably some of the best in the country. Look, Benedict Mathurin, 30 points in the second round game versus TCU. Head coach Tommy Lloyd, a former Gonzaga guy. I like Arizona. They've been at the top, just like you were talking about Purdue. They've been in that top 5, top 7, top 10 pretty much the whole entire year. There's my Final Four. I'm still sticking with Duke to win it all. Wayne, any final thoughts on the Sweet 16 and how sweet it will be?
Well, as far as the number one teams left, I really think Arizona is going to fall to Houston because they're not ready for what Houston is going to bring. Same thing with Gonzaga and Arkansas, like you said. If Arkansas's big thing is when Gonzaga makes those second half adjustments, Arkansas is going to have to be ready for them because I think that was the big difference in Gonzaga beating both Georgia State and Memphis. They came into the second half and made the adjustments to overcome their deficit. Purdue, of course, and Kansas is going to be the number one seed that makes it to the Final Four simply because what else have you got to do up in Kansas except for take your basketball and rock your chalk?
Rock, chalk, Jayhawk, as they say. Well, folks, that wraps up our show right here on ATL Prime Sports. My closing thoughts on the show. Trae Young scored 45 Tuesday night in Madison Square Garden as the Hawks defeated the Knicks 117-111 and evening up their record on the year. Played last night. Young is now aligned with NBA greats like Michael Jordan, Kevin Durant, Kobe Bryant by averaging over 28 points per game when playing in the famous New York City arena. When your name is aligned with the likes of Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan, you're going in the right direction. Tip of the cap to you, Trae Young. Hopefully the Hawks can make some noise in the play-in tournament and get in the playoffs. We'll see about that. Wayne, your final thought for the evening.
Well, you had mentioned NBA and Memphis looks like they got a pretty good chance of making the playoffs this year. And with the team they've got, I think they're going to do very well. Tonight they're up in New York playing Brookland, and are they at home playing Brooklyn? Either way, I get to make fun of that team, Brookland.
I like it. Well, folks, that wraps it up for Wayne. I'm JJ. Stay tuned to our social media for any updates with the NFL trade alerts and free agency. And feel free if you want to tweet at us at ATL Prime Sports. please do so, or at RWY Junior for Wayne, at JJ Get You One for myself. And that wraps it up. Get you one for Wayne. I'm JJ. We'll see you guys next week.